What does Iran actually look like when you stop looking at headlines? Not politics, not dramatic television footage, not stereotypes. Just ordinary Iran. People going to work, families buying food, shopkeepers opening their stores, motorcycles moving through busy streets, customers walking through markets, children heading home from school, and millions of people simply getting on with their everyday lives. In this video, we're taking a street-level look at Iran. Its people, neighborhoods, shops, markets, roads, food, and ordinary daily routines. Because the Iran you see in the news is only one part of the country. The other part is much more ordinary, and you have to walk through its streets to see it. Walk through an Iranian city, and one of the first things you'll notice is movement. Cars, motorcycles, buses, pedestrians, and delivery vehicles share the roads, especially in major urban areas. In places such as Tehran, the streets can become extremely busy during the day. Modern apartment buildings stand beside older neighborhoods. Large commercial roads connect with smaller local streets. And behind the main roads, you'll often find ordinary residential areas where daily life feels much quieter. People aren't walking around thinking about being part of a documentary. They're going to work. They're buying groceries. They're meeting friends. They're running businesses. And that's important to remember when filming Iran. A country is not just its government, its politics, or its international reputation. It's also ordinary people living ordinary days. Iran's population is diverse, and daily life can look very different depending on where you are. A young person in a large city may have a completely different routine from someone living in a smaller town or rural community. But some things are universal. People need to earn money. They shop for food. They travel to work. They visit relatives. They sit in cafes. They use their phones. They spend time with family. And they try to manage the same basic pressures people face in many countries. Work, housing, transportation, education, and the cost of everyday goods. When you watch street footage, you'll see people wearing different styles of clothing, from traditional choices to modern urban fashion. You'll also notice that social behavior can change from one neighborhood to another. That's why one street should never be presented as the definition of an entire country. Iran is too large and too diverse for that. Now look inside the shopping streets. Small businesses are an important part of everyday urban life. You'll find grocery stores, bakeries, clothing shops, pharmacies, electronics stores, restaurants, cafes, and countless small businesses serving local neighborhoods. A shopkeeper may spend most of the day behind the counter, while customers come and go. Some businesses are traditional. Others look surprisingly modern. In larger cities, shopping districts can be crowded and commercial, with large signs, busy sidewalks, and multiple businesses competing for customers. But on a smaller neighborhood street, the atmosphere can be completely different. A local store may mainly serve people who live nearby. The owner knows regular customers. People stop for everyday necessities, and business becomes part of the rhythm of the neighborhood. This is a side of Iran that can easily disappear when a country is only discussed through politics. Iran is also famous for its markets. Traditional bazaars have existed for centuries, and some remain important commercial and cultural spaces today. Walk through a busy market and you'll see people buying food, clothing, household products, spices, and other everyday goods. There is bargaining in some markets. There are shopkeepers calling customers in. There are people carrying shopping bags. And there is constant movement. But markets aren't simply tourist attractions. For many people, shopping is part of normal life. A market can be a place to buy ingredients for dinner, meet someone, run an errand, or simply spend part of the day. And that's why street-level footage can tell us something photographs of famous monuments cannot. It shows how people actually use these spaces. Food is another major part of Iranian daily life. Iranian cuisine varies across regions, but rice, bread, vegetables, herbs, meat, and dairy products are common parts of many meals. In cities, you'll find restaurants ranging from small local places to modern establishments. Street and market areas can also offer snacks, bread, and prepared foods. But food isn't only about restaurants. It's also about home, families preparing meals, people buying fresh ingredients, friends meeting for tea, and relatives gathering around a table. For many visitors, food becomes one of the easiest ways to understand a place. You don't need to know everything about Iranian politics to understand the importance of sharing a meal with family. That's simply human. Getting around is another major part of urban life. In large cities, people use private cars, taxis, buses, and metro systems where available. Traffic can be heavy, particularly during busy periods. Motorcycles are also common in many urban areas. For some people, transportation is simply the daily journey between home and work. For others, it means long commutes across a large city. And then there are pedestrians, people crossing roads, waiting for buses, walking between shops, carrying groceries home. These small moments may look unremarkable, but together, they create the real rhythm of a city. The most interesting part of Iran may not be the famous landmarks. It may be the streets behind them. Residential neighborhoods can reveal another side of the country. Apartment buildings, small parks, local stores, children playing, people walking dogs, neighbors talking, cars parked along the street, older buildings standing next to newer construction. Some neighborhoods look crowded and intensely urban. Others are quieter and outside the major metropolitan areas. The pace of life can change considerably. Iran contains cities, towns, villages, mountains, deserts, and agricultural regions. So there isn't one single version of Iranian life. There are many. One of the biggest misconceptions about Iran is imagining that everyday life has remained completely disconnected from the modern world. Iranian young people use smartphones, social media, online services, and modern technology, just like young people elsewhere. They listen to music. They study. They work. They meet friends. They follow fashion. They watch movies and online content. At the same time, Iran has its own cultural traditions, family structures, and social expectations. So modern life and tradition often exist side by side. You can see a modern shopping center only a short distance from a traditional market. A smartphone in someone's hand while they're walking through an old neighborhood. A modern cafe inside a historic part of the city. That's what makes everyday Iran more complicated and more interesting than simple stereotypes suggest. But we also shouldn't romanticize Iran. Daily life has challenges. Economic pressure affects households. Prices of everyday goods can change. People worry about employment and income. Traffic and pollution can be serious problems in some large cities. And restrictions affecting daily life are part of the reality of living in Iran. At the same time, people continue to work, study, shop, socialize, and build families. Both realities can exist together. A country can have beautiful architecture and difficult economic conditions. It can have friendly social interactions and strict regulations. It can have modern technology and ancient traditions. Real life is rarely just one thing, and that's exactly why responsible travel storytelling matters. So, what is the real Iran? It's not just the images that appear in international news. And it's not just beautiful mosques, ancient ruins, or dramatic landscapes. The real Iran is also the shopkeeper opening his store in the morning, the woman buying groceries, the taxi driver navigating traffic, the family sitting down for dinner, the student walking home, the baker preparing bread, the market filling with customers, the crowded street at rush hour, and the quiet neighborhood after sunset. Millions of people are simply living their lives. That's the Iran we wanted to show you today. Not a perfect Iran, not a frightening Iran, not a political advertisement, just a street-level look at ordinary life. Because sometimes, if you really want to understand a country, you don't need to start with its politics. You start with its people. This is Iran, real streets, real people, and everyday life. If you want to see more honest, respectful, and realistic travel stories from around the world, subscribe and join us for the next journey.